our next speaker is going to delve into education technology. Next up, we have Marie Payne from Sesame Workshop International, who's going to discuss how digital education is transforming early learning. As AI-powered learning tools become more accessible in Africa, they're actually showcasing how Sustainable Development Goal number 4 is coming to life. And that is the goal of quality education. We see that also pairing up with the Agenda 2063 goal to build an Africa with well-educated citizens and creating a skills revolution that's underpinned by science and technology. Marie Payne, how are you this morning?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone online. Thank you for having me. I'm very well, thank you.
I am well, and I'm loving that blue screen behind you. It takes me back to the days of my favorite Takalani Sesame.
Feeling warm and fuzzy, like my background. So happy to be here and to have this discussion with you today.
Thank you so much. It's taking me back to Takalani Sesame days.
Sure.
The floor is yours, Marie.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. It is my honor to speak to you all today. Just a little bit of background. I'm Marie Payne. I'm the Deputy MD for Sesame Workshop here in South Africa, also better known as Takalani Sesame, which you will all be more familiar with. And just to call out as well that Takalani Sesame and Sesame Workshop South Africa celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. We have been in South Africa and on air and broadcasting to the nation and generations of children over the past 25 years. So we invite you all to celebrate with us this year, especially the month of July. On the 31st of July specifically was the first day that Takalani Sesame aired on SABC in 2000. So it's a very special month for us and a very special year for us. We'll be celebrating over the next 12 months. So keep an eye out on our social media channels. Much more to come, lots of activities planned to let everybody know we are still here, we're still around, we're looking forward to the next 25 years. And just to thank South Africa and thank the nation and thank everybody for their support over the past 25 years, for watching the show, for loving our characters as much as we do. So just wanted to mention that as well before we get started. So thank you for having me. So we have been asked to talk a little bit about EdTech in Africa, around education. And we know the world is rapidly moving into the digital era. We know AI is rapidly developing on a daily basis. And how do we rally around education systems, not only in South Africa, but across Africa? And how do we prepare our children for the future with all of these things that's happening and more AI coming into play? I don't know, there's a thing around my screen, so I hope you can see clearly. So just going through the outline quickly, we'll have a look at the educational landscape in Africa. What are the benefits of using educational technology? Some of the innovations and solutions. How do we support that? How do we implement that? What are some of the challenges and considerations that we need to consider when looking at EdTech in education? And some looking into the future and some recommendations for the future as well. So looking at the current educational landscape across Africa, it's very diverse, not only in South Africa, but across the continent. We know that within South Africa and within a specific country, that it's also so diverse. So the different countries different from each other, but within that country, within a specific province or district or region, how diverse it is in terms of access, in terms of education systems, and various factors that influence how we approach education and how we deliver education in a classroom. Also, a lot of cultural, religious, and language factors that influence. So it's a very complex space to operate in, and it's very diverse. And what I want to say about that is that it's not a one size fits all. It's very important when you look at these things to look at adaptation and localization and be adaptable and flexible on your solutions, because it's not a one size. But there's also a lot of opportunities, and that is exciting. There's opportunities as we navigate into this world of AI and technology, that we should look at the opportunities that it allows us to give to learners across the continent. And what EdTech enables you to do is to tailor it specifically to children's specific needs. Which is very exciting, but alongside opportunities, there's also challenges. We know that, some of the challenges we can look at is infrastructure, data, Wi-Fi, connection, devices, digital literacy. If you look at digital literacy, you also look at digital well-being and digital safety for children. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider in terms of the challenges as well, on how you adapt these solutions. But looking at the more traditional educational systems and models that we see across the board is the overcrowded classrooms. We deal with that a lot in South Africa as well as on the continent. In South Africa, the ratio for early learning is 1 to 39, so a teacher to 39 learners. But we do see in some cases 80, 90 learners in a classroom. Which is not ideal. It compromises the quality of education. It compromises the interaction with the teacher. It compromises early identification of learning difficulties. So overcrowded classrooms really, really contribute to this, and we've seen it across the board. So that's the reality of our education models at the moment. We also look at insufficient resources. We know that textbooks is limited, desks and chairs are limited. So there's a lot of barriers as well in terms of the physical infrastructure and resources, and not enough teachers, not enough assistants. So a lot to do with resources as well. Then we also look at curricula. A lot of the curriculums have been around for a number of years. And like I said at the beginning, that this landscape is rapidly, rapidly changing on a daily basis. And so how does the curriculum in a country keep up with the changes? We can't change the curriculum every 6 months, right? So how do you then navigate an updated, flexible, fluent curricula that can keep up with this rapid pace of change? And so those are some of the things that we look at when we look at the traditional educational models. Access to education, we know that there's geographical issues. We also see a lot of climate-affected things with flooding, where children can't cross a bridge. It's far distances that they have to travel. We also see a lot of community upsets and riots that hinders children to access a physical building to go to school. So a lot of barriers to education. And then the role of EdTech really to enable us for accessibility to education. It enables us to access those underserved populations and really have an inclusive approach and learning opportunities for everybody, regardless of where you are, remote as it can be, isolated, high up in the mountain. We know that EdTech can play a role to overcome these barriers to education. So some of the benefits that we look at in terms of technology is it allows children to have that really immersive learning. And what we do with Sesame, when you look at complex topics, is we normally use our characters and our Muppets that can help overcome those difficult topics and really address complex issues that you wouldn't be able to communicate with a human person on screen. So it really allows you to be playful and think differently about how you deliver your educational content. There's also a lot of platforms out there and a lot of technology. They call them MOOCs as well, where you can really personalize a student's learning. So every individual learner can have their different path on how to progress in their outcomes. So the systems is so clever and so nuanced nowadays that a learner can start their learning journey, and the system are able to identify where the learner is lagging behind or not getting their developmental outcomes where they need to. And the system is then tailored in such a way in the back end to then move that learner on a different path that is specifically suited for their learning journey to get them to where they need to be. We are also doing something similar with parents in South Africa in terms of early childhood development, where we have a WhatsApp chatbot that we use to navigate that learning journey for parents and young children. So you register your child on the platform, as an example, and it gives you activities to do with your child, after which you just click on questions. Were your child able to do this? Not yet, still learning, etc. And that feedback then enables our system to push remedial activities or the next activity that your specific child need to have to be able to reach their developmental milestones. So just an example of how personalized a learning journey can be. And this is not even in a school system or with all the children. I'm really talking early childhood development with a parent at home, how you can navigate that specific learning journey for a child to be able to reach their developmental milestones. So really helpful tool in personalized learning journeys. Also allows you to use multimedia, videos, animations, etc. We're starting up a new program in the Free State at the moment, where we are using our animated video content in early childhood development centers through the use of tablets to enable that learning journey to happen, and also to fill the capacity gaps and enhance the curriculum that they're already receiving in these ECD centers. So really helpful way of how you can use multimedia that's fun, engaging, interactive. It's a different learning model. A child just don't sit still behind a desk in a chair and listen to the teacher in your old kind of school and educational environment, but really an interactive learning thing that really allows children to also build those 21st century skills, right? We look at collaboration, problem solving, creativity, really understanding how the world works. And this is an amazing tool to use this multimedia tools in that kind of setting to be able to teach those skills to them that it wouldn't normally be covered in a traditional setting. You can also gamify your lessons. Children like to play games. Now more and more days, 3-4-year-olds can operate a tablet on their own. So really make it exciting and engaging for them to do those gamified lessons, but also saying that this shouldn't replace other forms of learning. But that this can really be an add-on and an enhancement on their learning journey. Yeah, so just looking at accessibility and inclusivity, I spoke about this a little bit earlier. So you can really tailor that individual learning journey for a student. So it also really helps with children with learning difficulties, disabilities, and you can really tailor your content to speak to all of those learners, and in that way, then fostering inclusivity. Yeah, so looking at the cost effectiveness and scalability of these solutions. So to do in-person, face-to-face training and print resources for teachers, etc., is really costly. And in a space where we operate, where philanthropic funding is really scarce, governments taking hands with private sectors and corporates to really help build the education systems, we really need to look at cost-effective solutions. And using EdTech and technology can really be a way to scale your solutions to more and more children at a more cost-effective way, rather than having face-to-face people travel to remote areas, handing out print materials and manuals, which is very costly and not good for the environment. So it's really a way to overcome some of those barriers in terms of costs and resources as well. And then I spoke about online learning platforms, and I mentioned MOOCs. So these are things that they really tailor at the back end for that individual learning journey. So it can also help learners to have a self-paced learning. We know that children don't learn all in the same way at the same time. Some learners get it quicker than others. Some learners are more advanced in certain areas than other areas, and it really helps that individual learning journey for each child. So really having self-paced learning where a child can navigate on their own path. And we in education we call about we talk about diversified learning and teaching at the right level. So it's really difficult when you have a class in front of you of 30, 40 learners, and not all of them are learning at the same time. So some of them are faster or slower in certain areas, and you have to accommodate and do that differentiated learning on a daily basis. And these online platforms really help you to have that individualized journey for each of the children. Also helps you with a variety of courses and materials. I mean, the possibilities are endless. You can put anything in terms of personal or professional needs onto these platforms. Then we look at accessibility. So smartphone, a lot of these things you don't need a television or a tablet or any smart devices. A lot of these EdTech solutions can also operate on a smartphone. We know that the smartphone penetration in Africa is relatively high. Speaking about South Africa specifically, it's very high. WhatsApp penetration is over 98%. So really, using the device in your hand to learn. So you don't need a lot of devices that costs a lot of money to be able to give these solutions to parents and teachers in their own hands. A lot of them also offer offline learning resources, so where you don't need to have an active connection to the internet. So if you look at apps and things like that, you can download the app when you have connectivity, but the app can run even if you are not connected to Wi-Fi or internet connection. So in a lot of cases, this works really well as well. And like I said earlier, it can go across the board. So you can go to rural communities, you can access educational resources really wherever you are, whether you have connectivity or not. There has been a lot of successful EdTech solutions across the continent. And there's also been recorded a lot of positive learning outcomes and success stories. But really important to capture all of this as we build an evidence base for the global south in terms of these solutions and how they work, and also documenting these to capture the learning and the journey on how to implement these solutions so that we can learn from each other. So you can take a solution with its learnings and try to duplicate that in another country, with the possibility then to contextualize and localize as needed in your respective region. To be able to do this, collaboration and partnership is extremely important. We need to collaborate with technology institutions. We need to connect with mobile operators that can make educational learning platforms zero rated or at a reduced cost. for children and families to access. So really important to collaborate across government, private sectors, technology institutions, mobile operators, etc., to develop these scalable solutions to meet our educational needs, right? So the partnership between government and private sector is extremely important. And we've seen that recently with the Department of Basic Education in South Africa, in terms of their 2030 ECD strategy, coming together with private sector to build the social. So really taking hands to advance systems across the continent. Yeah, and then just like I said earlier, in terms of your research, when you do these EdTech solutions, really important to generate the evidence. For Sesame as well, that's one of our key pillars. We work at the intersection of media, research, and education. So everything we do is based on research. You do research to inform your design. You do research to test your design. You do research afterwards to see what was the individual outcome on individual children. What was your impact? So lots of impact evaluations are really important to document the learnings. That your solution have the intended individual child outcomes that you wanted it to have. Did it move this learner from point A to point B? And like I said earlier, the successes and challenges as well, so that others can replicate and we can learn from each other. And then in terms of your metrics, setting up your monitoring and evaluation systems, making sure you monitor and track your solution as you go along, and that you can make real-time changes to your program or solution as you are implementing. Yeah, so I mentioned some of the challenges earlier, but diving a little bit deeper into that, we look at digital infrastructure in terms of connections, but we do know that you can operate them, some of them in online and offline mode, but really looking at digital infrastructure. There's also been more and more investment in connecting schools to fiber networks. There's been a lot of work done on that. So connecting schools to a fiber network so that they can run multiple EdTech programs. And then also looking at the internet connectivity. Should your solution then need to be in a constant connection, or if you can download it like an app and then utilize the app while it's in offline mode as well. But with all of this, we also need to look at the teacher. So the teacher still facilitates this learning journey. And so one thing that we shouldn't overlook is the importance of the teacher in front of the classroom. So educators, not only in-service training to be able to implement these solutions in a classroom, but also pre-service training. So we really need to look at your Department of Higher Education and Training, where teachers and teacher colleges, where teachers receive the initial training before they go into a classroom. How do their curriculum and how do they prepare teachers to be able to use technology effectively in a classroom? So really important to look at the pre and in-service training, pre-service for the new teachers and in-service for the teachers that have already been there, on how they can use technology to enhance the curriculum and to implement the curriculum more effectively. And then ongoing professional development. Not a once-off training, this is your EdTech solution and now you have to go and implement it, but that ongoing professional training as this rapid development takes place on a daily basis, that the teachers also keep up with the trends and the new things that are coming out. And then I said integrating, the EdTech into the teachers' training as well. So not only working with the education system, but also working with the higher education institutions and TVET colleges that offers and prepares teachers for a suitable workforce. Then in terms of barriers, we can look at cultural context, but like I said, earlier, you can take some of these EdTech solutions and adapt them and localize them. But in some contexts, we do need to be cognizant of cultural context when it comes to EdTech solutions. Not everybody is open to that yet. Some people still feel that, children shouldn't be using devices. They shouldn't be learning on devices. They should have pen and paper and textbooks. So really being cognizant of the community in the region that you work in, on how do you overcome these cultural barriers from the onset. And then also there's always this conversation about screen time. Is it good for children to have screens in front of them? For how long? Children need to play outside. They shouldn't be on devices. So really looking into all of those nuances and contexts before you take this the EdTech solution into a community or a school. We also look at language barriers. So a lot of the solutions do make the content available in multiple languages. But we have also found, and this is also always a very interesting topic when you come to languages, is that we do make available our content in multiple languages, but we do find sometimes that people still kind of tend to go back to the English version, even though the other languages are available. But in terms of our television show and our multimedia content, we do make that available in 5 South African languages, as well as South African Sign Language. And we do find sometimes that the English uptake is still higher than the other ones. But very important to do make it available in mother tongue. If you deliver content directly to young children and it's child-facing content, extremely important to have that content available in their mother tongue. Alongside English or any other language, because that's how young children acquire their language and literacy skills. But you can tailor your solution according to cultural, language, and religious needs in your regional context. So just looking at the future and where this is all going, so potential trends that we are seeing. Is AI, artificial intelligence, in education, how it's more accessible and how it's been effectively used. And like I said earlier, what comes with this is not only how do children navigate and have access to AI and EdTech solutions, but how do you also keep them safe online? Because we know that digital influences on young children can have psychological influences. It can impact their emotional well-being, but also that, unfortunately, online places is also a place where you find perpetrators, that targets children and young children. So with this, also a huge responsibility to account for children's well-being, their mental health, but also their safety. And how do you as a parent and a teacher navigate these platforms and implement these solutions with that in mind? Virtual reality is also something that's coming more and more to the front. How do you create these virtual experiences for children? So with virtual reality, you can take them to anywhere in the world, really, and go and explain to them. You can travel to the moon, for example, and you can go and walk on the moon and learn about the moon and the solar system, and all of that you can do through virtual reality with glasses and everything. So really exciting, and the possibilities are endless of where this journey can take you, but also looking at the safety behind that. And then just looking at the integrity and transparency in terms of the educational institutions. Then also looking at policies, enhancing policies for government, and really for governments and departments of education to relook their AI policies and digital technology. How do they invest in infrastructure? I was speaking about fiber connections to schools earlier. How do you invest in those resources in your country specifically? I spoke about partnerships and how important it is for government and private sector to have those public-private partnerships to really enhance these solutions. And how do you bring that to the education system, where funding constraints and infrastructure constraints is such a reality for all of us? And then equitable access as well. I was speaking about EdTech in terms of how it can be inclusive and how you can reach people and children that don't have physical access to education. How do you reach them remotely? And just making sure as you navigate this path with policy recommendations and government partnerships, how do you really enable that access to the children that need it most? Yeah, so just looking at the last slide here. So funding, and we're talking about funding today. We spoke about entrepreneurship earlier. So really looking at the funding landscape. The philanthropic landscape is challenging on many fronts. More and more international donors pulling out of the country, pulling out of the landscape. So really looking at the funding component for these initiatives, and that is why the public-private partnerships are so important. And to really build that sustainability on the African continent for ourselves. And then I mentioned as well the knowledge sharing, really documenting your learnings, documenting your journeys, documenting your best practices and things that didn't work so that we can learn from each other, and capacity building for government, for educators, administrators, really looking at capacity building across the board. It changes rapidly, and we really need to keep on top of it in how we train teachers and how we roll it out into different schools, communities, and regions, and across different ages. So all of that said, it's all very exciting. I know there's much more challenges and in reality on the ground that we need to deal with, and that we really need to partner with government and civil society and corporate to bridge these learning gaps through EdTech solutions, both in South Africa as well as Africa. So I'm going to stop there, and then I don't know if you will allow questions or answers, but
Fantastic. Thank you for that presentation. And maybe to kick us off, massive congratulations are in order for those big milestones for Takalani Sesame and the anniversary of the program. I myself am an alumni, if I can call myself that. A proud alumnus, proud alumna of being on those screens. I can actually tell you so many incidences of when, one couldn't go to school because I wasn't feeling well. And, while mom is busy cleaning the house, you're just there listening to Mushe. So congratulations on those milestones on that front.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing with us how important this revolution in education technology is, particularly in the African landscape. I mean, we've seen how COVID-19 just accelerated digital learning. It was almost like we were all just forced due to the lockdown to rapidly adopt these online learning tools, which now have become hybrid models that are still in use today across different sectors. I'd like to find out from you, are you finding, the uptake now that the world is seamlessly integrating with these technologies and these tools? Are you finding that there's still a preference for in-person engagements, or are people really adopting fully the online learning experience?
Yeah, thank you for that. No, like I said earlier, this shouldn't replace that human interaction. Young children, especially, and I'm talking now specifically from an early childhood perspective, and even foundation phase, they still need that human interaction, which is so critical for their socio-emotional development. We have seen the impact in studies in South Africa specifically on the impact that COVID-19 had on children's socio-emotional development. Because they didn't have that human interaction. They couldn't see people's faces. They couldn't interact and play with their friends. So really, really had a huge impact on their socio-emotional development. So the human element is extremely important for young children's learning. Learning through play is still extremely important. That's how young children learn. They need to be out there. They need to climb. They need to run. They need to play. But that technology can be used as an add-on. Yes, certainly so. I mentioned earlier that the controversy that we always have in terms of screen time and how much time, and they shouldn't be in front of TV and devices. Yes, they shouldn't be there the whole day. But for example, the program that we are now starting up in the Free State is a 5-minute animation. It's 5 minutes of their day watching that animation. And it's not what makes us different from other content that children would watch online is the educational aspect. So that 5 minutes is really an educational focused story. So either we are teaching you numeracy, we are teaching you literacy, we are teaching you how to deal with your emotions. It is a targeted 5-minute animation, which is fun to watch. It's an animated character doing something and playing a game, but through that essential learning that young child is receiving. So it's a 5-minute animation in their day. So we're not saying put children in front of a television screen, you're going to solve your education issues. That's completely not it. So the human interaction and all of those elements are still critically important, but that it can be used as an add-on to facilitate that learning.
Absolutely. And you're so right when you speak about that development, especially in early childhood. I mean, if I look at toddlers today, any child between 1 and 4 years old, and how they actually engage with their environment because of how they're used to engaging with their devices. They are used to everything happening instantaneously because we've taught them that if you've got this phone, you just swipe through the next YouTube video or whatever it is that you're engaging with. If you're playing a game on the phone and the phone doesn't interact back with you, that child at the age of 4 already knows. I mean, my daughter already knows. Get network, she'll say. It's the network. The network is slow. But that has inversely affected how she engages with the real world, because if things are happening slow around her, she gets very agitated and so frustrated. So it's important to note, and I love that you've added this, that it has to work in conjunction. That human element, especially in early childhood development, is so key. We cannot replace that human element. It's key to their development, and this can be an addition to the learning experience. There is a question from Matlaku. Matlaku, I'd like to invite you to the podium to maybe pose your question, because having one voice the whole morning. Matlaku, please come. You've asked a question on the chat. If you're comfortable, please come and share your question with Marie.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I was wondering if you do have a centers or centers across the country where parents could potentially take their children to just go and see and have an experience in terms of the touch and feel, because I've watched it since I was young, the program, and I'm in my early 40s now, so I can relate to everything, but it will be very nice to really take the children to go to some of the studios or wherever you are, different locations, so that they can have that moment. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you so much. So we do different, we don't have ECD centers that belongs to us. We work in ECD centers in collaboration with the government. So like I just mentioned, we are starting up a new program in the Free State in 2 districts in Kwakwa and Tabanshu soon. So if your child is in any of those ECD centers, perhaps they'll be able to access the content. And then we are going on exciting road shows with the Minister of Department of Basic Education starting on Friday. So on Friday, we're going to Nelspruit in White River. The week after Friday, the 25th, we'll be in Kimberley. So we're going on road shows with the minister and the department over the next 6 months as well. So you can watch out on our Facebook page and go on Instagram or any of those platforms and follow us, and then you'll be able to get where we will be and what time, etc. So you'll be able to get that. But for your child to watch our content and have access to our content, we are on SABC. So your child can go and watch us at 2:30 in the afternoon on SABC. We are also on ETV, so at 2:30 on ETV in the afternoons as well. Your child can go and watch us on ETV. And then we have just started to stream on Showmax. So on demand watching, so your child don't have to wait for a slot. So if you do have access to Showmax, the streaming platform, you're also welcome to go and watch our episodes there. And it's available in 4 of the languages, I think. Yeah, so we are available on those platforms as well. If you can't watch on any of those platforms, we do have a dedicated Takalani Sesame YouTube channel. So all our content from our episodes also go onto our YouTube channel in shorter formats for viewing there as well. And there's also compilations where your child can watch for half an hour, etc. So many places where your child can access and watch our content. But thank you so much for that question. I hope that answers you.
Yes, I'll also be on the lookout for those road shows. I want it for myself, not even for my little one. It's for me. So Matlaku and I, we must actually just chat and
I'm gonna ask
organize.
the 2 of you to record a little message or share your experience and your memory with Sesame. And you can go and paste it, go and watch on our Facebook page, on Takalani Sesame on our Facebook page. Lots of people have posted their videos. People have sang happy birthday. People have sung the Takalani theme song. So there's a little competition going and there's going to be winners. So record your little something that you want to share and go post it on our social media pages, please. We are all in celebration mode and would love to hear your memories and your connection with the brand as well. So yeah, I can
Ah,
ask you to do
beautiful.
that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Matlaku, our time has come. It's our time to shine. Takalani Sesame. There are 2 more questions, one in the
Sure.
chat, and another hand is raised. Can I ask Cecile? Yeah, we still have 10 minutes. Cecile, please come onto the podium and share your question with Marie.
Thank you, Maflori. Thank you, Mari. Just a little bit of my background for many years in corporate, that I've done a lot of team trainings, and education upliftment is such a topic that is so close to me as an individual. With what you've said is the importance of childhood play and early learning. With all the struggles that you face in your business, is there maybe one example that you can give us of early childhood play that was successful or that resonated well in an under-resourced area?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Cecile. So we have been implementing community engagement programs for the past 10 years in South Africa since 2015. And we've done that in KZN, Free State, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, across the board. We've done training with government officials, teachers, parents, and social workers. And one of the success stories that always resonates with me was our program with social workers. So we trained them on how to help children and families overcome adverse childhood experiences using learning through play. And so we trained them on that, and then they went out to family visits in the home as well as community centers, where they had groups of children to really help them build resilience and overcome those adverse experiences through play. And one of the stories is from the Sedibeng community there in the Vaal, where the social worker visited this family. It was a single mom and young child. Dad have left them. And so both of them had this intense feeling of abandonment. And really struggled to overcome, learning to deal with that and not understanding why, and having to learn to go on. And so the social workers started to learn with this, started to work with this family through our play-based program. And also just to say that in our play-based programs, we do make available play resources. So we would offer them maybe Lego bricks or whatever is part of the program, but we also encourage them to be creative and kind of create their own, right? But the social workers started to work with them, and especially using Lego bricks. We had a little game that they play with the families and children. And just through that, because play is not only about early learning and stimulation, it's also the quality of the interaction between the adult and the child that's playing. So really building that nurturing relationship with the parent and the child. And in a lot of these under-resourced communities, we know there's a lot of poverty and stress, and people are not in the mood to play, right? I need to figure out, where am I going to get the next meal from? Where am I going to find a job? Where am I going to do this? And so just helping them to build that relationship and that bond again, that nurturing parent-child interaction through play, was so significant that throughout the program and even now, the mother and the child really flourish. They overcame that feeling of abandonment and resentment and stress, and how do we go on? So happy to share the written story about that. But it was really a significant case of how this intervention with the social worker just bring that perspective, and reiterating to that parent that you do need to spend this time with your child, and how this can help you to heal both as an adult and a child, and how something as simple as play is used to do that. And it's not about the quantity, but about the quality. So we know in our play studies that we've done, parents say, I don't have time to play, I'm busy. Where do I find time? It's late at night. I don't have the energy. I need to cook. I need to clean, whatever. But really finding those little moments throughout the day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, it doesn't need to be long. But just have that 5 minutes, be present, and have that moment to play, because it's so much more than just play. You're building skills, you're building resilience, you're overcoming trauma together. And the parent and child is just building that nurturing relationship, which children need to ground them in this world, which is so critical for their socio-emotional development, and just feeling loved and grounded and supported And all of that you can do in just spending 5 minutes in play.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this story, because I think this kind of emotion a person can't translate it on a slide.
Yes.
So yeah, hence my question. But thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That is absolutely spot on, Cecile. I mean, you can't, there's no way tangibly other than to actually see this case study, maybe in a video format, but how you've explained it now, that even if it's just 5 minutes with that child, it can change their entire worldview. Such a critical conversation, Marie. Brilliant way for us to end off this session, showcasing truly that the value of EdTech is in collaboration. We need to collaborate with the specialists in their various fields to make the most out of the EdTech experience. Marie, what an engaging presentation. Thank you so much for your time with us. Do you have any parting shots in 30 seconds?
No, thank you for having me. It was an honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having us. It was lovely to be here, and looking forward to connecting with you all again in different spaces. Thank you.
Amazing.